Salve, salve, Maestro here, and today we're back with another Victoria Free campaign, and now finally in 1.9.6. Now, as you can see, we are playing as France, and I completely changed the theme already to honor the French DLC, which was actually the first from Victoria Free. And now let's explain a little bit why France. Well, basically, I thought it was time for us going back to some colonization since we did nothing with the US and to do some proper wars because with the Russians, the United States, Brazil, everyone, we did some little wars, not conquering a lot of people. Only India we conquered a little bit of our neighborhoods, but now I want to try some massive wars with the European powers and take high infamy. Let's go. As France, we start with some pretty decent states here, mostly in the east. Two of the best of them are Rome, with some pretty good state trades, population, and resources. In the other one is Alsace-Lorraine, the same pretty good resources, state trades, and population. So we're gonna start by maxing out the construction sector in both of these states and also build some iron mines and logging camps so we can control the price of iron and wood. And on top of that, I'm gonna put a decree of road maintenance so we can increase the construction efficiency. And I'm gonna be switching state by state. So first in Rome and then in Alsace-Lorraine. And also notice that the French start not with all the iron mines in atmospheric engine pumps. So remember to switch it on. Not only in this case, but always check your PMs in the beginning of the game because most of the times you can get better production methods. To finalize our money subject, I'm gonna increase the taxes to high taxes and change these consumption taxes from liquor to service so we get a little bit more into our budget. And with this excess of authority, I'm gonna put some decrease and also bolster slash suppress some movements, but I'm gonna talk about this later. About our government, France starts in a very decent situation, like there is no major law that you wanted to pass. Maybe you think that tenant farms is a big issue, but it's not that huge, like the landowners are not that strong compared to the rural folk, and there isn't any major law that you want to pass and the landowners avoid it, so it's not a big issue. Maybe freedom of conscience is the most important thing that you might want to change and go to total separation. But I actually think that maybe the colonization law is the best thing you can change in the beginning. Because the colonial resettlement, the only thing that it does, it increases the migration attraction in unincorporated states, which is not important since we're going to be colonizing areas with a lot of population, and it grants the same colonial growth that the colonial exploitation does. The difference is that colonial exploitation also grants throughput to a lot of interesting industries like plantations and mines, reduces wages, and decrease the tension decay, which is actually good in my opinion, because if the tensions stay high, it's more likely that the natives are gonna revolt, and this war is basically a free colonization rights, so there is not a big issue about that. But the most important part that I think that makes going for colonial exploitation early on is because the industrialists support it, and their approval is gonna go from 5 to 10. And why this is important? Because the base industrialists, they grant plus 20 capitalist contributions to the investment pool, which is already very great. But the French industrialists grant the ventilate, unify, and beautify, which increases the state construction efficiency by 10%, which is amazing. So that's why I'm gonna go for colonial exploitation first, only to improve the industrialist approval. Finally, about the institutions, right after I end my construction queue, I'm gonna put some government administration buildings so I can get the bureaucracy to increase the colonial affairs and also the education institution. Now about the diplomacy, I'm gonna get some interest and I'm gonna put in South China and basically all of Africa, at least the area that we're gonna be colonizing it. And the last one, maybe here in New York to increase our trade advantage towards the Americans. And since I'm already here, let's establish our colonies. And the most important in the beginning of the game, I think it's Kenya, because if we start colonizing here, there is a great chance that the Great Britain won't be colonizing here too. So basically, this is the most important state when we are talking about the colonization of Africa. so always go for it. And while I don't colonize all the coast of these states, so I can avoid other great powers to colonize here too, I will not be establishing colonies in these other places because basically the colonization system works like you produce some colonization points and this is equally spreaded to all of your colonies. So the less colonies you have at the same time, the bigger will be the points towards each colony, which will make the colonization faster. While in the other side, the more colonies you have at the same time will decrease the colonization speed in all of your colonies. So since this is very important, I'm going to finalize this and then establish a colony here in the Senegal region. Also, I'm going to start to improve relations and basically I'll try to improve relations with all the great powers. So we can check here the strategic regions, which countries have an interest in the places we are going to be expanding. That in the beginning of the game is basically North Africa. So we need to improve relations with Great Britain and Spain, but I will also improve with the Persians and if possible with the Austrians, because later in the campaign we're gonna get some diplomatic plays here in the Rhine region, so it's important to have great relations with them. And also I'm gonna get a single rivalry against Brazil, and the reason is basically I don't want any of these people to get involved into my diplomatic plays. Like the Ottoman Empire, I could rival the same to the Netherlands, but I don't think it will be necessary. And with that rivalry, we also can improve relations with the United States. That will probably be something like an ally of us or something like it. Now, about the technologies, I will go first by water tube boiler. This is a no-brainer, very useful this PM. We will need it. And later, I'm gonna go for the society one for joint stock companies to get a max number of companies, nationalism for the journal entry about the natural borders of France, and quinine for the colonization speed. And finally, before I unpause, I'm gonna get this return of the ashes, which we can claim the body of Napoleon Bonaparte from Saint Helene, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. So we can get a progress towards the Bonapartist or interest group approval and much more progress. I think that going for legitimacy will be stronger because we can increase the taxes without losing the government legitimacy. And this difference of 25 progress for the Bonapartists won't make the difference in the end of the game. So I'm gonna get the legitimacy. And as soon the first week pass, we can decide which house we are gonna support. We have the Bonapartists, the Orleanists, or the Legitimists. Basically, the Legitimist is useless, it's awful, you never want to go for it unless you are doing some RP. Now, in the last updates, the Orleanist was much better. You got a more progressive voting laws, you got support for laissez-faire and free trade. But now that interventionism is a little bit more stronger because you can grant monopolies to some companies, I think that the Bonapartist house is as strong as the Orleanist. The only problem is the voting system that kind of sucks, but they are neutral towards wealth voting, which is exactly what we got right now. So that's fine. And of course, this is probably the most funny one to do. So I'm gonna go for the Bonapartist path. Now that our interests are set, and the most important here is the South China, the first thing I'm gonna do is get a treaty port here over the Guangdong region. It's Guangdong, right? It's eastern Guangdong. So this is the best area that you can get from the Great Qing in order to get a treaty port because of this modifier here. And we need to do it quickly before the British come here and take it for themselves. So exactly what I said about Kenya, if you start colonizing it, it's very likely that the British will go elsewhere. And in the little message here that popped up, it said that the British would go for Côte d'Ivoire. So this is awesome for us. But still, I will wait to secure the coastal region here before colonizing other areas. It's already June 1836 and we already have a coup. This seems to be very common from what I can tell because every time I saw a France campaign or me playing France, it always had this coup, but most of the time it's pretty simple to deal with, and it's the Catholic Church that's running this coup. So as soon as we end the coup, we're also gonna decrease a lot the power of the Catholic Church, which is awesome for us. Maybe when you play Victoria Free, in the beginning of the game, you are afraid to attack Great Qing, and I say that because for a long time, I was afraid of these big numbers here, But as soon as you got a decent army with 30 battalions, you can easily take them out because of this modifier here, the widespread open addiction, which they got a penalty of half of defense offense and plus 75% moral loss. So it's very easy to take out Chink. Always go for it. And then while we have our little war against Great Chink, we already can start declaring war here on North of Africa in order to complete this conquest of Algeria. In my opinion, the best option here is just make a protectorate out of everyone and you'll be fine. And as promised, we got our tree port here over Hong Kong. And now we need to move this troop here quickly because we have some little wars here over North of Africa. And of course, I don't like this option because it was going to increase the political strength from the landowners, but still, this will make the coup to end, which is pretty acceptable. So, we managed to control the coup, and now we can decide from either decreasing the popularity of the Catholic Church leader or increase the interest group approval for a ton of them. That's very interesting because it's for 10 years, but this won't make a huge change now in our current situation. So I'll go for the popularity hit. And we were very much blessed because we are in a very difficult situation. I think that I built more construction sectors than I should, but we managed to research water to boiler. So that's exactly what I'm going to be changing here on the PMs, going for condensing engine pump. And about the wars, we only need to take these guys as our protectorates to finish it. I don't think we need to get Togut. And we had a little problem here over the law because the election came in and our legitimacy went down to 60. So I'm just waiting for the election to end and then probably this legitimacy will increase a little bit and we will be able to continue this law. And for some reason, the war was bugged because they were winning the battles but not occupying the state. So I just reloaded the save and thankfully it solved. So now we've managed to take all of these free guys into our protectorate, which led us to this event. Now we can get a claim over basically north of Africa, like west of Tripolitania, or we can, okay, the claim is guaranteed, so we can increase the loyalists. This loyalist might be good, but this population probably is too small to even matter. So I will go for this because this population will matter more of loyalists, and this will increase our Bonapartists in the journal entry. Now that we've received these claims, I will wait a little bit for my infamy to take down because I want to get these guys on the same war. Basically, one war for Morocco, one for Tunisia, and one for this one. With Tunis, the problem is that they are a subject over the Ottoman Empire, so we don't need to get involved into a war against the Ottomans. Maybe when the Egyptians try to declare independence, we can get this from them. While Morocco, they got free province for us to take. And if we add up these numbers here, this will be almost 10, 16.3. This will be more than the 25 infamy limit. And this is a problem because probably some great power will side with Morocco. We already can see that if I try to declare it now, Great Britain might join, even with my infamy being below 25. Not only Great Britain, but Egypt as well. And we were just in the limit of legitimacy, like we have a 25, the minimum we needed to pass a law, but we did it. Now we got colonial exploitation. It's not something huge, but it's a nice thing to add. Since I already have this government here, I will try to take away freedom of conscience and pass to total separation. And fingers crossed that our legitimacy won't drop below 25. And even if it drops, I will probably decrease the taxes just to pass the law, and then we'll come back to high taxes. And yeah, just as I said, it dropped it, so I will need to decrease it. And let's try to pass this, even though the stall chance is more than double the chance of the success. In Victoria 3, you can try these bettings. Now I have unlocked a second company slot, and this probably will be a very tricky question to solve because, of course, you already know one of the best base companies is the combined metalworks because of the precision tools. But the problem is, whenever the natural borders of France journal entry pop up, you're gonna get a claim over the Belgians. And we all know that the Belgians had the best company in the game, which is the Société Anonyme John Cockerell. And they also got precision tools. But not only that, they are better than the combined Metalworks company. So I think I'm gonna put the Metalworks company aside and try to establish one focused on iron mines like the French metals or the conglomerate of France. But probably the best is the conglomerate of France because sulfur is more important early on than lead. So at least momentaneously, I'm gonna go for conglomerate of France. Yeah, I wasn't so lucky when choosing when to start the war against the Moroccans because our infamy dropped enough so we can fully annex their country. But at the same time, the Egyptians decided to declare independence from the Ottoman Empire. So our strategy about waiting this war to happen to then conquer Tunis might not work. I will try at least. Let's first focus on Morocco and then, if I can, get Tunis. Okay, just check it here, and there will be no way to do that because they are allied to the British, which is not optimal. But sometime we would have to fight the British anyways, so okay, let's build our army and wait for that time to come. And I've just researched nationalism here, and now we only need one thing so we can unlock the natural borders of France. Some interest group needs to be jingoist, ethno-nationalist, fascist, integralist, or Bonapartist, and this group needs to be powerful and part of the government. This is not as easy as it might seem because being powerful here in France is very difficult because the political clout is so spread among the IGs that basically no one's powerful. Only the landowners right now are powerful, but I can already see that the armed forces are almost powerful enough to get this modifier and they are Bonapartists. So if we put them into government, we will be able to get these natural borders of France. Now that the war just started, I could of course naval invade the Moroccans, but I just wanted to say that a little bit earlier, the Spanish hit me up saying, "Hey dude, you want a treaty?" And I saw it and said, of course. So they grant me investment rights and military access. So now we can do a land invasion through the Spanish. So I'm mobilizing my army here. And whenever this hit up 100%, I'm gonna do a invasion. And when I select a province, you're gonna see that I don't need to put a fleet here in order to this button to be enabled because now I have this military access and can invade through Spanish Al Rif. But the opposite is also true, and I just forgot about it. We can invade Morocco, but they also can invade us, so be alert about it. And Morocco is totally ours. And the guy we're looking for just arrived. A lot of stuff has happened, but let's start by this event, the third Bonaparte. Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, which would be known as the third Napoleon, is back to France. And of course, we're gonna support him. That's why I'm going through this path. So perhaps he has learned his lessons. And what do I say that has happened? Basically, the landowners became powerful again. Now they got a legitimate leader, which is awful. We got an election, we lost them. And now basically I needed to put the resistance party into government, which was something I was not wanting to do. In the other hand, we can continue and probably pass our total separation law. The Catholic Church is now ruled by a Democrat, and I can keep the taxes high because I wanted to decrease these taxes since it decreases the attraction of interest groups in government. And back then we had the industrialists and the intelligentsia, so I wanted to increase the attraction, not decrease. But now that we have landowners, Catholic Church, and all these guys here, I think we can keep this reduction over the attraction for these groups. Now I'm gonna do a little trick here that a lot of you might know, but I think that some still don't know about the budget and the IG approval, which is I need only one more approval of the petit bourgeoisie to get minus 7% loan interest, which is very important right now. So what I'm gonna do is increase the government wages, wait to the tick come in. So now it's enacted. And you can see here that in order to remove this, the approval needs to be lower than 3. So I can just remove it and save the money. And I was checking this war very closely, but it seems that the Ottomans will lose it even with support of the British. And this is awesome for us because eventually we're gonna need to fight them not only over Tunis, but because we probably will fight against the British anyways. And since we are already here, let's check the total separation being enacted. That's awesome. So Auguste Comte, oh, this is the father of the positivism. Yes. So he can increase the intelligence here or will become an agitator. No, I prefer the intelligence for sure. And total separation. So now the Catholic Church won't be as powerful as it is. Awesome. And it's no surprise for anyone that as France, we doesn't have any stable government because this is the most legitimate government that we can get. Oh, we can increase by one. Nice. At least now that we pass a total separation, we can stop suppressing the legitimism movement, which will save a lot of autocracy that we are desperately needing. And with all of that happening, I just forgot to check about my colonization here in Africa. And yeah, it was successful. I colonized the coastal line of the Kenya. The problem is something that I almost never see happen, which is the British took Zanzibar from Oman. So they are colonizing here as well. So all of that strategy was for nothing, which is very sad, of course, but it is what it is then. So let's start colonizing every other piece of Africa right now. Now, since the Catholic Church and the landowners are mad at me, I'm considering to pass this legal guardianship. Basically, because I have a pretty big peasant population, so I don't need to worry a lot about workforce. And by switching to legal guardianship, not only I guarantee a little bit more of approval from these guys, but I also increase the birth rate. The only problem is that I'm gonna lose this bonus here about society research speed. So what I'm gonna do is wait for these researches to end and then I'll move to production or military while I try to retake that bonus from the intelligentsia. And we completed the journal entry about the divided monarchies. Now that we fill this progress bar, and now Louis Napoleon Bonaparte is our emperor, so we can make the landowners more radical and increase his popularity forever, or just increase the approval of these ideas but decrease the radicals from the landowners. So the landowners are only 74K people, so I just don't care. This popularity won't make a difference because he's already loved with 95, but this approval also won't make any difference, so let's get the popularity. Now, I need to be honest, I was missing something in this update, which was the goods transfer. I always thought it a little bit complicated, not complicated, but it's a little bit of work for you to actually know what you want to trade or not. And I was having some financial troubles, you all saw, but then one thing saved me basically. What happened was it appeared a little notification here that the Hades have paid their debt with us. And what happened is that since the beginning of the game, Haiti has a debt with France that they need to pay, and this actually happening in real life because of the Haiti independence war. So then I just wanted to check how much they were passing to me, and for that I went for the diplomatic pact. And then I noticed that I was winning some money from the treaty with Spain, let's say that I'm passing some clippers for them. And then I noticed that I was overproducing iron, and iron is a very well desirable good and it's kind of expensive. So I started to look for some potential buyers of my iron. And surprisingly enough, the British wanted my iron. And now I have this pact here that they are passing me 20K a week only for this iron, and I still have iron to sell for other people. And I was just missing this for all this time I'm playing in 1.9. Like these packs of transferring goods, if well used, are very, very powerful and can save your financial situation. And since we are laying low in order to fix this money balance here, I will start to reduce the autonomy of these subjects here because in the future we're going to be annexed to them all. And also by turning them into a puppet, if I'm not mistaken, right? They're going to contribute a little bit by sending money to us, which is massively needed. And that is what I was talking about when I said that I didn't want it to get some rivalries with people like the Ottomans or the Netherlands, because The British are just wanting to make Dahomey a protectorate. And now, for some reason, they need to fight the Netherlands because they want to change regime in New Brunswick. Like, for the AI, this is very simple, but from a player perspective that just want to chill a little bit, this is very, very annoying. And this is what I was trying to avoid. And now I'm basically starting to expand to other markets because, first of all, our market is kind of saturated. Like, there is nothing too major that is lacking up, and basically, these guys, when I turn them into puppet, they will start to pay me a little bit of cash, which I'm needed. So I'm already starting to make a protectorate out of them so I can have time and turn them into puppet. And finally, even among this political chaos here, now the industrialists are not only powerful, but its leader is a Bonapartist. So whenever we put them into the government, we're going to trigger this event about the natural borders of France, but there is only a single issue about it. Actually, two, but one of them is the most important. Whenever this event trigger, we're gonna get the option to receive the claims over this province of the Belgians and the Prussians, which is awesome. The problem is this decision will also decrease our infamy decay. And I don't even need to mention that the infamy about taking this province, even with a return state CB, is very high. So since we are already in a kind of high infamy situation, I'm gonna end this war here. Just chill a little bit. Whenever this construction queue ends, I'm gonna build a ton of armies on top of that and prepare ourselves for the war. And finally, I just want to mention something, at least I don't recall it. For some reason, the London Conference journal entry hasn't triggered yet. Like, the London Conference is a journal entry that will decide the fate of the Belgium state. So what happened in real life is that the state of Luxembourg was created and this northern state here of Belgium was given to the Netherlands, but this event just didn't trigger yet. And normally what happens is if I support Belgium, Great Britain almost always also do it. So the Belgians get all the claims here and it would be much more easy for us to take. But okay. But I will leave all of this for the next episode. I hope you like the video, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.